Welcome to the podcast. My name is David Shanhun, and these are the chats I wish I could have had with someone as I've created life as a full-time musician. If you're on that road and you need a friend, or you need to hear the same stories and struggles that you're going through from another human's mouth, you're in the right place. Connect with me at davidshanhun.com and let's move you into that space where you're really thriving and sharing your gifts with the world. Let's go. People doing the work don't criticize, don't bring you down. That is the topic of this week's podcast, and I'm thrilled to be actually sharing this with you. A lot of you know it, this is nothing new, and I want to just start out by saying there's a difference between criticize and dragging someone down and offering useful feedback or constructive criticism, like, hey, have you considered this? This might be useful. And the two are opposite. One lifts you up, like, have you considered this? This might be a helping hand. This might increase, enhance, add to your life. The other one is it's the crab in the bucket thing, right? You guys have heard that. It's just to bring you down. Is if you put, I don't know what it is. You can look it up. You've probably heard it. You don't need me to repeat it, but you're listening to this, so I'm going to anyway, is if you put enough crabs in a bucket, they can actually climb out physically. But what will happen is the other crabs, basically, as one goes to climb out, grabs it and pulls it back down. And I'm probably... this is the very briefest summary you'll ever get of that analogy, that life example, but it's something I notice more and more and more, and I feel very blessed to have people around me that celebrate things. But I'm recording this literally as the car is 90% packed. My first show of the tour is tonight, and I'm looking forward to it. There's been a lot this morning to get organized, to have sorted, ready to go out the door, ready to turn up. And the first show of the tour for me is always interesting. It's where everything is the most raw, the most fresh. I'm really looking forward to being on the road and connecting. There's a real... it's like, when you get nervous before a gig, there's a real energy that's there. And will everything go perfectly? Probably not. That's also the reason why I chose this topic to talk about today. Do I have everything perfectly prepared? No, not perfectly prepared. Prepared, yes, absolutely. But is everything absolutely dialed in? No, because there's feedback, there's things I'm going to learn through doing show number 1, and then show number 2, and show number 3, and show number 4, that for this particular tour, I've got a different set of tunes, I've got a different setup in terms of gear. It's all those things start to mesh after doing it over time. But a lot of us, this harks back to the first episode, a lot of us stop because it's like, oh my gosh, that was a little bit chaotic. Or the other thing is, I'm so stressed out. I'm organizing Facebook ads, tour promo, liaising back and forth with venues. There's a lot going on, and a friend shared this week, he'd done a counseling session just to chat through. Like, man, it's been really hard leading up to the tour. And I think that's the reality. But let's talk about YouTube in this context. And I chatted a long while back with a friend, Andrew Rooney. Go and check out his YouTube channel, Andrew Rooney Drums. And we were talking about how you deal with criticism. And I feel like it maybe got to him more than does to me. I kind of find it amusing. I feel like I have a weird, especially online, I feel like I have a weird relationship compared to a lot of people when someone criticizes something online, because I usually laugh and I look at it and I think, often there's some truth there. If you go back and look at my cover of Wicked Game by Chris Isaak, the first bend is not even the right note, which, I mean, I'm like, that's awkward. I also think I put in the notes, I spent the whole day filming and just wasn't really happy with it. Was like, in my own head, frustrated. And in the end, I decided to share it and basically was like, this is what I've actually spent my whole day doing, setting up a camera and recording gear to film and record this. And you liked it in general, so I appreciate that. I had to get over myself to just like share it and see what happens. But Andrew and I were talking, and we started noticing, and I don't think I'd noticed it till he brought it up, so thanks, man. But he's like, without fail, all of the negative comments that are just negative, like, this was shit, this was bad, this was, how can you possibly be talking about drumming when you don't know this, or how can you possibly, for me, I guess, talk about gear or this and that, and you missed out this really important thing. It's like, cool. But without fail, those people had less than 10 subscribers, usually 1 or 2. Usually no videos, 0. They're not in the game. They're not putting themselves out there. They're not willing to be vulnerable in that way. And it's like you get these, I'm going to say attacks. They kind of are, but it's the crab in the bucket. It's like, and all it shows is our own, when I comment, it just reflects where I'm at. So if I comment on someone else's, like, oh my gosh, how did you get so many views for such a simple thing? But that reflects back to me that I just don't believe I can do that. And all it shows is I'm basically trying to make my videos too complicated. I don't need to. But it's like that would be the excuse for me not making the next video, maybe a simple video. Maybe it's a video that has bad lighting or the audio is not the best or whatever, but I have my own judgments and so I don't share it. And then it's like I don't risk being vulnerable. But wild. People who criticize are not doing the work. They're not. I could be wrong, but I don't think I've ever had a comment on my YouTube, in the YouTube comment section, saying your videos are shit. You should be disgraced with yourself. This is the kind of stuff that comes through sometimes from someone that's like got 50,000 subscribers and has put out a whole lot of videos. They don't. They're like, man, good work, great stuff, sharing you, risking your putting yourself out there for those comments. So that's really all I've got to say. I'm gonna hit the road. I'm really digging these messages and being able to share in this format, just a one take on a topic. And I guess being able to, my goal is really that you can listen to this in a bite-sized snapshot once a week and just be like, oh my gosh, maybe there's some inspiration of like, maybe I should just put stuff out, you know what? And you'll find the channels, talking about YouTube anyway, you'll find the channels that are doing well, like, good stuff, man, well done. And you'll find, I'm curious if you find this as well. I suspect a bunch of you watching, I know you've got some epic YouTube channels. I suspect you've found the same thing. So moral of the story, message of the podcast, go do the thing. Go book the tour. You'll have your own learnings. You'll improve and you'll grow as you do it. You don't have to have everything perfectly lined up. Just it's that striving for putting on something that feels good to you and being okay with sharing yourself on that day. That's a little bit like doing this podcast. Being okay with whatever message comes out, whatever I share, whatever I say, and just trusting that somewhere in what I've said today, there'll be something for each of you that listen that's like, thanks, dude. Yeah, I appreciate that. Okay, right. I've shifted my energy. I'm in a good space. I'm going to get on with my day, however that looks like. So thank you again for tuning in. If you're coming to see the tour, amazing. Obviously, it's very restricted around the globe. It's just the North Island. It's not even the whole of New Zealand. But I will look forward to seeing you there. Until then, I will see you next week on the podcast.